Well, hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my little gardening show. Hopefully, everybody's having a good summer so far. I know it's been a little different for us, not as many activities going on as far as sports and get togethers and things like that. It's been more focused on family, and it's been a little more lower key, but it's been good. We've been spending a lot more time out in the garden, which has been good. We'll wait a little bit here and see if Frank and Tom pop on. Right now we're in the midst of harvesting everything, green beans. It seems like everything kind of comes in all at once in July. End of June, beginning of July is kind of the apex of the garden when everything's really growing well and we're just harvesting quite a bit of stuff. And there's Frank. What's up, man? It's been a while. You get your RV working? You get a second opinion on that? Oh, that stinks, man. That really stinks. So kind of what's your living arrangement now? I know last time we chatted or texted or whatnot, it was you had kind of like a month time frame or something where you're you know, a site you might try, there's a lender, they're called Light Stream. They've got pretty good rates. Might be a site that you want to check out. Hey, bud, what's up? Talking to Frank, bud.
Can you show them all the squash?
No, I haven't showed. Well, Frank's seen pictures of everything. So, True Black Brandywine, one of my favorite tomatoes. Unfortunately, I noticed it's starting to. It must have gotten nicked or something. There's a little bit of juice coming out there, so we want that. Hopefully, that's going to dry over and not become a
Problem?
yeah, get fungal or go bad. Usually that's what happens when something like that happens, and that's going to develop a bad spot. So I don't know.
I'll have to eat it.
We're probably going to eat this pretty soon. That's pretty true to type. It's a really nice tomato. But they're typically the first ones. First ones I get of the season. Zoichka was another one last year, but unfortunately I didn't find those seeds until we'd already gotten the tomatoes well underway. But these are really nice, and I've got a lot more coming in. Let's see, I got my crookneck squash. I got some really nice ones there. There's probably 6 or 7 in the basket here. We've got enough cucumbers to make pickles.
Show them cross.
We got one that's a cross, I think.
It's back.
It's a cucumber cross, actually. Is this it?
Oh no, it's that
Or
one.
was there another one?
It's that one right behind the Quail Eggs.
This one. This is interesting because this is a cross between Market Moor and the Boston Pickling. It's got the Boston Pickling coloring, but it's got the length and size of the Market Moor.
Those are your
cucumber.
2 new ones, right?
Trying to think if this is kind of what a classic Boston Pickling looks like. It's more stubby,
Like fat.
thicker. It's like a fatter. Whereas the Market Moor's more lean like this. So this is interesting.
It's called like the yellow tip too.
Yeah. Very interesting. We got some, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting cutting into that. We got some nice zucchini squash. I think this is Black Beauty. A couple of these, we picked them while they're smaller, so they're a little more tender and stuff. And then we've got a ton of gray squash. That's been super productive so far.
Is it a new type?
Yeah, I don't think I grew this last year.
Oh, show me.
Or actually, no, maybe I did. We got one that we let get a little bit bigger. So you can kind of see the size difference there. But they made some zucchini bread tonight. Actually, Bud made the zucchini bread, didn't you, Bud?
Yep.
You can sit down if you want, Bud. You're not staying. Just having a conversation. And then this has started. We got our green beans. We've picked, I think I'm right at about 2 bushels so far.
And we got like 15 cans.
Yeah, the gray zucchini plants are pretty awesome looking. They've got the like splotches on the leaves and stuff. There's Sis. Child. And all the melons are still doing good. I need to make another video with watermelons and highlight the ones you gave me. They're all still alive. They're all doing well.
I saw one watermelon so far.
One watermelon?
It was a little bit small, as big as like the Tigger melon, but it was like a splotchy.
Yeah, we got the ancient watermelon is coming on. Yeah, I know. I got all the other kids are still awake since it's Friday night. They tend to stay up a little later. Doing so. Look at that tomato weeping, bud.
Is it watery?
And that's disappointing. You can see that little. I might put that in the fridge. It's got a good smell. It smells like tomato. I'm probably gonna slice that tomorrow.
Are we picking potatoes tomorrow?
Yeah, we're gonna be digging our potatoes tomorrow. Most of them have died back, and we've got a mole in the garden.
Are you sure it's a mole?
Yeah, Grandpa's pretty sure it's a mole. What are you doing, baby doll?
Oh wait, show him the cherry tomatoes.
Yeah, yeah. We could slice it now on the video. That'd be kind of neat, huh? What do you think, bud?
Well, it might not stay good till tomorrow.
We'll have to do a slicing video on this.
We might find other.
I'm thinking we
big
might
ones.
make some sandwiches with this tomorrow, so I'm gonna hold off, but
Show them the cherries.
we'll see.
under
Are they in the
those
box? Oh. So we got some Chadwick cherry tomatoes. These are awesome, and I've been growing these from seed from my own garden for
7.
I think since 2012 or something. I've always grown the Chadwicks because it's just a really nice,
It's like really
solid,
sweet.
solid cherry tomato. Yeah, these are actually ones I could save seed from. They're really nice looking. We could save seeds from these, bud.
They're really healthy. Maybe we could do a video on slicing this, saving seeds, and potatoes too.
Yeah, the potatoes are going to be interesting. We battled the Colorado potato beetle like crazy this year.
They nibbled down a lot.
I think we were able to keep them, you know, keep them pretty
control.
much intact and everything under control. So I'm hopeful we'll have a pretty good crop of potatoes. But it's weird, man. Depending on the weather, like our green beans, I don't think we've gotten as much this year off the green bean patch as we have in prior years.
Well, because when they were little, the last 2 rows that we planted got struck by the flea beetles really bad. This is like the year. This is the year we've gotten a lot of flea beetles.
Yeah, it's been a toughie.
The eggplant doesn't look.
But we're gonna dig the potatoes this weekend. It's supposed to be like in the high 90s, like pretty hot weather-wise. Oh, careful with that, honey. But we're gonna try to get them out of the ground and then cure them. I've got to set up a table where they can cure, dry out. Yeah, they've been bad. The eggplant, they totally decimated my eggplant for some reason. There's an area in the garden that's just not done. The eggplants just didn't do very well for whatever reason.
Last year they didn't do as well either. I think the flea beetles.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a deficiency or something in the soil. I came across this dude. I don't know if you've probably seen him on the social media and stuff, but his name is John Kempf. KEMPF, I think. And he's into regenerative agriculture and stuff, and he's got a lot of neat posts. He's got an Instagram channel too. I follow all his stuff, and probably going to get his book to kind of read up on things, but he's got a lot of examples, case studies and things where they apply science and stuff. Well, hey there. We're just chatting here, Frank and I, so I'm glad you dropped by. I got Samuel with me here. And baby. We're just hanging out, showing Frank some of the fruits of our labors. Got some green beans. Squash. And we were been talking about maybe slicing this tonight since it's got a little spot that started weeping for some reason. It's got a little pinhole in it. I think I bumped it up against something. Yeah, anyways, John Kempy's got some interesting stuff, and he's got a book. I think it's called Quality Agriculture or Quality Conversations or something. Anyway, it just came out, and I guess there's a couple different folks doing some neat stuff, but basically the idea is take a look at the soil and see what the deficiencies are, and then come up with a strategy to overcome whatever the deficiency is, whether it's planting trees or different cover crops or adding amendments or whatever. It's a kind of a holistic approach to agriculture, and it's more large scale stuff. It's trying to get farmers away from chemicals and pesticides and things like that, and really build something that's more sustainable. And anyway, he talks a lot about the genetic potential of crops and stuff like that, a lot of what we grow today, we're not really seeing like the genetic potential, like what the crops are capable of. So it's pretty fascinating, actually. And I kind of have a little experience with that. The little backyard garden in Indiana I had, where we did like no-till and did like a ton of leaf mulch every year. And I had a big tree that was in the backyard where there's roots and all that. I think mycorrhizal fungi, and basically it was like the texture of cake mix, or like a real spongy cake, chocolate. Just an awesome place to grow. Anyway, I can remember growing cherry tomatoes, the Chadwick cherry actually, and having stems that were, as thick as quarters. And we're growing well over 10 foot, and I can remember where there's a fruiting a branch that came out from the stem, and it had split 4 ways, and there were like 12 tomatoes, all like equal, really nice size on each of those of the forked branches. So yeah, like, I don't know, it was like, what's 12 times 4, bud?
12 times 4 is 48.
Good job. You learned some math. 48 cherry tomatoes on this one branch. Just crazy. It's amazing. So anyway, seeing stuff like that, whereas what I'm doing now, I mean, it's productive. We're still getting quite a bit, but it's not like that. It'd be nice to get to that, at some point, but we're kind of doing the best we can with what we got. We've been messing with irrigation here lately. My dad's got a Toro Flex mower, and he's got this water pump attachment, and so we were jacking around with that this past week.
That did not work.
I've got a slice on my thumb where he got these hoses. It's almost like fire hose, like a 2-inch hose. And this pump will clear just a crazy amount of water. And so he rigged it up where he's got these rain barrels. And the idea was we're going to try to get that water down to the garden. So we were kind of experimenting with it, and that thing emptied. I think he's got 50 gallon rain barrel, and it emptied it in like less than 30 seconds. Like, that's how much volume that pump was clearing. And literally when he turned on, I see the water coming down the hill, and that thing was just going. So I just kind of put it in the air and tried to guide it down the.
You said that it was gonna. You were like joking around, like it's going crazy, but it wasn't on. And then it started going crazy.
Anyway, I guess the end of where you can screw on an extension to it is pretty sharp. I ended up slicing my thumb in kind of 3 places a little bit.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I don't know, but we're trying to figure something out with that. I think what he landed on is he's going to have some rain barrels down at the bottom of the garden. We're going to build some platforms for him. And the idea is maybe to pump the water that's coming from way up at his house down into those barrels, and then have like a low gravity feed deal where we can route the water into the garden using like a drip hose or soaker hose or something like that, and let it seep out where we want it, like along the tomatoes or beans or something. So anyway, we're kind of jacking around with that. Yeah, it was crazy how much that cleared in such a short amount. But then the downside to that is once it pumped all the water out and it was down far enough in the hose, like
you got stuck in the hose.
There wasn't anything to pull out of the rain barrel to keep the water coming down, so we had to physically, so there's like I don't know, probably about 20 gallons of water in the line. Hey, thanks for dropping by, getting started on homesteading. Appreciate you checking in. So we had to like manually lift those lines, you know, like, and work the water down, and we had you know, the watering pails, and so slowly, you know, did that several times to get all that water out, and then into the garden. So I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I'm gonna figure something out there. We got how many quarts of green beans has Mom put up?
I think 15 to 20.
You can go count them if you want. We're thinking it's probably about 20 quarts of green beans so far. We've given, we gave away probably a half bushel.
15.
15. Well, plus this one.
Yeah, that's plus that one. 15.
So 16, and
15.
the goal is to try to get 70. And I don't know if we're gonna get that this year. I might have to plant another crop of green beans.
This crop, it did all right. Mom said it wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't the best.
Yeah. We go through, we can go through 2 quarts of green beans in a meal with the 7 people. Like if we factor in leftovers, like if we're making a big meal, you know, or we could do one if we're not if we've got a lot more other vegetables, we'll do 1 quart. The first couple years ago, that's what we ended up getting, was about 70 quarts.
So that's 140
all together. Yeah, it was a crazy amount. You can get, I think it's about 15 quarts out of a half bushel. I think, well, no,
15 quarts.
probably about 12 quarts. It's hard telling. It depends how big the beans are, really.
Well, we have 15 right now, counting that one.
Yeah, so one of the things we're going to have to think about is once so once we get everything harvested, we're going to have a lot of real estate, like, you know, where we're going to have to figure out what we're going to plant next. And actually this weekend I'm going to be ordering probably some more seeds
For potatoes?
for the green beans, and maybe a late crop of potatoes. I think we've got time to do them.
Or onions, that's another thing.
I don't think we're going to do any more onions because I've got a crazy amount of onions down there right now. Like I think there's over 200, 230 or something.
We could do more, we could try garlic.
Yeah.
Or just do cover crop.
Speaking of which, as far as gardening and stuff, how's your raised beds going? I know you neglected them for a while, but they still look decent.
There's 2 people on there.
Yeah, we may do another round of cabbage and stuff. We harvested most of those heads. We picked what, 10 heads? I think it was about 10 heads last weekend, and we did pretty good. I mean, we had a lot of cabbage this week. Coleslaw. We did hobo dinners last night. That was nice. And did like cooked cabbage. It was really good. And then once again, we gave, you know, a couple heads away to different family members. What do you think, bud? We might see Stone on here tonight. We've been chatting with him a little bit. Once you get the quail eggs out of the fridge. That's awesome. Yeah, I need to get my Bountiful Harvest grow boxes. We moved them this past weekend on the back deck, and I need to reseed them with lettuce and get that going.
We have 7 left.
Yeah, so I'll show you these. My like I said, Stone may jump on here tonight, but he raises quail. They're kind of miniature quail, but he brought, I think it was 4 dozen eggs, and I think, how many were in here? Were there 2 per
Yep,
deal? Is that what he did?
2.
Yeah, so he brought 4 dozen eggs. 2, I think around 2 will fit in each like normal size egg deal, but man, these are kind of neat. Oh man. Yeah, I got a little bit of disease problem on my cherry tomatoes on the back deck. I think maybe we over fertilized them or something happened.
You kill mine.
Yeah, these eggs are really neat. They are pretty rich. They're smooth. So what Stone was telling, oh, careful with that. What Stone was telling us is that these eggs, they don't have, was it salmonella?
No, they don't.
So you don't have to worry about salmonella with them. It takes, I think, about 3 of these to
Equal 1 egg.
equal 1, like, large chicken egg. And then to crack them, like you can crack the shell, but you have to use a knife. It works better using a knife to pierce the membrane. The membrane tends to be thicker on these, and then it's like a miniature egg. But they're really neat. And different color, different speckles. Like here's one that's not as speckled, and then here's another one that's got a different pattern.
This one's cool.
Yeah, but they're pretty neat. Anyway, he sells them $3 a dozen. So I'm probably start getting some quail eggs from him. Maybe try to trade some stuff. He was asking me about cabbage and kohlrabi, so maybe I'll barter some veggies for quail eggs. I've been using the Food Saver. Yeah, an omelet. I mean, if I was wanting do like a typical 2-egg omelet, you know, that'd be what, 6 of those eggs. So like a half dozen. I'd be eating a half dozen to get me a decent size omelet. But we've been using them baking is primarily how we've been eating them. Is just substitute them for chicken eggs and like the baked goods, like if we bake bread or things like that. Yeah, I'm hoping he'll trade me some fish. He's from what I hear, quite the fisherman. And actually, we're for Samuel's birthday coming up in August. I think we're gonna try to go fishing with him. Kind of see how that goes. Maybe we'll catch something. So yeah. So what else you been up to, man? I've been talking a lot. I mean, I guess I should be talking because I'm live streaming this, but I like to make it interactive if I can. Yeah, we may try doing that. I might have some quail eggs tomorrow. So you still working for the yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. You still been putting up fences and garage doors and all that? Uh, yeah, I don't know about you, but I kind of enjoy like working outside, manual labor type stuff, um, cutting grass, taking care of my garden, just being outside is pretty nice, even when it's hot, you know. Um, I mean, I don't mind working inside either, but you know, being outside and just getting some exercise, some fresh air. Well, imagine it's probably a lot hotter out there. I was reading the almanac. I really like this almanac. One reason why is because they they do everything by month, and in all the regions, instead of dividing it up by regions, they just divide it up by months and then have the forecast for the regions. And it's pretty straightforward. So, you know, like we're in I think section 2, which is east of the Mississippi, and this week it's supposed to be hot, sultry, followed by thunderstorms into Ohio and Indiana. Temperatures well into the 90s, nearing 100 degrees, which is pretty much on point. What section are you in? The next section is Rockies to the Mississippi, and then Pacific Coast to the Rockies. Which section are you in? Would it be near the Rockies? You're probably closer to New Mexico, aren't you? Rockies to the Mississippi. Says here, hot then stormy plains through Nebraska and Dakotas. That's all it says. I mean, some of this is kind of real, you know, general, vague in some respects. Interesting. It's got a planting table too to tell like when it's best to plant. So I'll have to look at that. So what else you been up to? Are you still training, or I guess running with that group of people? Like marathon running and stuff? How's that going? So I take it you're probably losing a little weight then, huh? With all the running and stuff. Wow, that's great. It's been a little while since I've dropped weight. The last time was when I actually made an effort. I was drinking these shakes for breakfast and then going to Planet Fitness. I still have the membership. I just haven't been. That's awesome. Yeah, as long as you feel healthy, like you feel good and stuff like that. I mean, that's the main thing, right? Getting to the point where it doesn't hurt to get out of bed. Hmm. Yeah, it's been years ago. When I was in my 20s, while your joints and everything are still working good and all that, I, could run up to 6 miles every other day. 3 miles was pretty easy every other day for sure. Working out and all that. I was also working for the Postal Service as a letter carrier. And so the routes I was doing was anywhere from like 6 to 12 miles, a day walking or whatever. And none of that really fazed me. I mean, it was just kind of how I was living, what I was doing. But now, man, in the 40s, like, I could probably walk that and be okay, but to like run any of that, I'd be hurting. See, how are things going at, um, I guess, the church and stuff? How are you guys handling the COVID? Are you guys still getting together? Are you meeting outside? Has anything changed? Yeah, I remember you saying something about that. You guys were either getting a tent or had a tent and all that, and we're going to use it for like multi-purpose events and things. That's pretty cool. We know a group that I guess the way they've been facilitating their meetings is they have everybody bring their own pop-up, like 10 by 10 canopy that you can get. You can get one of those for about $50. That's cool. That's awesome. It's good to network. Wow, that's cool. I'm almost out of tea. Wow. You guys must be growing if you're building and stuff. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it is kind of tough. We're fortunate. I think where we're at, they own the building and everything outright, and actually going through like a little building project right now. I think they're almost at the point where they've got the funds or whatever to do the addition and whatnot, but just trying to figure out when the timing's right to do that. You know, in light of the COVID and stuff, and then the other aspect is people are fickle, and they like convenience and comfort. They're got kind of the consumer mindset. That's awesome. Yeah, it's been kind of cool. I've been chatting a little bit with a buddy um, back in Indiana, and just it's been good about just kind of different things, and trying to study and read on my own, as well. And as you know, it can be difficult at times to make time for that, especially with like working full time and kids and streaming on YouTube. Anywhere in particular that you've been studying recently, or anything that struck you? Yeah, one thing about society in general is that it's John 15 is a good passage. That's about the about the whole vine and the branches analogy. Lord kind of sharing some things with the disciples, kind of trying to help them understand how their relationship, how they were going to relate to him in the future, remaining with him, staying with him. There's some really cool stuff, in that chapter in particular. And it really is the key. I mean, I think, the foundation of it all, is really understanding how much God does love us. I know that's not everybody's experience, or people have a hard time accepting that, especially because of, the different things we've either suffered at the hands of somebody, or we've done things that has caused other people to suffer. And there's just a lot of evil in general in the world, and so sometimes it's hard to accept the fact that God loves us, either because we don't think we're worthy of receiving it, or we haven't really experienced love, and there's maybe a lot of anger and frustration and whatnot. Or we think we have to earn it somehow, and all that. I know that was a huge lesson. I think it's a huge lesson for most everybody, but can relate to that. It's kind of on the kind of came more from the legalistic side, of thinking if I did, X, Y, and Z and was holding up my end, and it was more of the works-based camp. Like if I worked hard enough and I did this and kind of made it a success of myself, or a success for myself, it was like a formula. If I did these things, and God was happy with me, and I was good and I was righteous and whatever. But there was no joy in that. And I can remember when my wife and I were still dating and all that, she took me to this thing called the Great Banquet. It's similar to like Walk to Emmaus, or whatever, where the idea is those getaways or retreats are designed for you to have, encounter God and like understand His love, and like, come away with a new perspective, and kind of a fresh, start fresh and just really understand how much God loves you and stuff like that. Anyway, I can remember just how happy everybody was and joyful and genuine. And I remember just being angry. I was like, why are all these people happy? This is work, I just remember just being really frustrated by that. And, the Lord was showing me something different, that it wasn't by works, but it's by grace. And so it kind of showed me that, and then kind of just showed me just how depraved I really was, and, just that ultimately His love for me wasn't dependent on my desire or effort, but on His mercy, and really understanding what He did, and how much He cared. And it's something that's revealed for sure. So, I mean, praise God for that, right? So I don't know. I think people have different experiences. They come from different places, and they have encounters with the Lord. Like, God relates to people in different ways, and He has a way of drawing people to Himself, whether it's through suffering, whether it's through workspace type stuff, whether it's through, some charismatic experience or, I mean, there's a variety of ways he draws us, but ultimately it's pretty cool, once he reveals that and you come into that relationship with him, it changes everything. I've been studying yeah. I've been going through the book of, I guess, First Corinthians, which has been interesting. Context of that is like there was all kinds of crazy stuff. They were kind of a hot mess, and but they had some good things going for them. There wasn't any kind of gifts, spiritual gifts, like lacking. And Paul spends a couple chapters talking about that, how the gifts are to operate in the church. But some good stuff I just kind of got through. I think chapter 10 was just, he's going through this whole discourse on our liberty or freedom in Christ, and like not, how he finishes, I think it's 1 Corinthians 10:31, where he says, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. The idea of being not letting your liberty or your freedom in Christ stumble someone who has a weaker conscience or who might be offended by something like, and I guess the context was one of the problems there was eating food sacrificed to idols. Like for the Christian, like idols aren't real, like it's just food, and so kind of the example he gave is like, if you go into a house and, eat whatever they put before you, don't question it. But if they tell you, hey, this was sacrificed to idols or whatever, then don't eat it, for conscience sake, because you might stumble the weaker brother who, gets offended by that. And anyway, it's kind of interesting how that all relates to like what's going on today, like with face coverings and masks and stuff like that, and how people are so offended on both sides. They're offended if you are wearing a mask because, well, you're infringing on my freedom, and I don't have to wear that, and this, that, and the other, and this is all just a farce anyway. And then on the flip side, you got the folks that are offended because people aren't wearing it. Like, well, you don't care about me, and my health and safety, and they get offended that way. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, even where we're attending right now, where it's really a divisive issue, right now. And I don't know, people aren't. Yeah, anger and fear, frustration, just no like tolerance or civility, or regard for others, really. Whereas if you're a believer, if you're a Christian, and the Spirit of God dwells within you, right? Where you've received Christ and the Lord abides in you and whatnot. Ultimately the fruit of the Spirit's love, right? Loving as God prefers, loving without expecting anything in return. And, it's like it says in 1 Corinthians 13, love, it's not self-seeking, I don't know. There's a lot of people that just aren't governed by that, or they're And it's just been crazy. It really has. So anyway, reading 1 Corinthians 10 is really applicable, right? Just the idea of our freedom, like, maybe to me, it doesn't really matter whether I wear a mask or not. I'm not super worried about it, but maybe out of regard for yeah, definitely, man. We can do that. That's heavy stuff, man. That's another area of contention too, and now you kind of touch on that. Like, I've talked about this recently with a couple people. It just is kind of come up, so it's kind of interesting. Is the whole idea of spiritual gifts, and whether God still moving today, and the sign gifts in particular, healing, miracles, stuff like that, speaking in tongues, prophecy, do those gifts exist today? Like, are they still in operation, or did they cease with the apostles, right? And like, studying that out a little bit, I guess going back to Augustine, when he was writing St. Augustine, he was trying to figure out like why, I guess, they weren't really seeing those gifts at work, and so he was trying to figure out, rationalize like, well, why is that? And so he kind of came up with this whole thing like, well, they were just there for the start of the church, and after the apostles passed away, those gifts were gone. They were just for that specific time to get the church going, and whatever. But what's interesting is, I think 7 years before he passed away or something, he recanted that view. But I guess people that followed him still held to his prior writings and things like that, and it's kind of taught that. And a lot of denominations kind of came, held to that view. Methodists, Baptists, I think Presbyterians, all of that. Anyway, to where you got kind of two camps now. You got the cessationists, who believe that the gifts passed away with apostles. They aren't active today. They ended when the canon was closed. And now we have the Word of God as our authority and all that stuff. The gifts were needed up to that point, but not anymore. And then you've got the continuous, who say no, the gifts are for today. There's nothing in the scriptures that say otherwise. And, God still does miracles and still heals people, and he still imparts those sign gifts, And so it's been interesting, kind of thinking about that and kind of where we fall in that. And I kind of fall in the continuous end of the spectrum, because when you read through the scriptures carefully and stuff like that, there's nothing in there that says that the gifts were just for that specific time, and that they, passed away with the apostles or anything like that. They're still at work. And I've, personally had, some experiences that would validate that, know people who have certain giftings like that. So it's been interesting, I guess, talking about that and studying that out a bit. I may have lost you. I don't see anybody on the ticker anymore. What's going on, bud? What time is it anyway?
11.
It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's over. I don't think there's anyone watching anymore.
Well, Frank was on, and I think he got kicked off. Something happened. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, see if he pops back on. If not, we will call it a night, and I will hop off here and clean up the kitchen a little bit, I guess. Hey, no worries, man. Is everything okay? Yeah, so anyways, it's been some good stuff, just studying and being reminded of some things, and the stuff that applies to today. I guess that's the one thing that's kind of cool is that, when you take the time and kind of read and study just how applicable, a lot of the stuff is, in the scriptures and, as far as helping us. Yeah, it's been some good conversation on all of that with this particular buddy. And I think he falls on that side too, when you do a careful study of everything. Not that there's anything wrong with folks that are on the other side of the fence. It's kind of, the Lord gives a measure of faith to everyone, and people relate to him in different ways. Ultimately, as long as they believe and they have faith, and they've trusted in what the Lord's done for them through Christ. That's the main thing. It's kind of what we were talking about a while back, like on the essentials, unity; on the non-essentials, liberty; in all things, charity. Oh. Yeah, that's a toughie. It's easy to I know I'm talking at like 0.5 speed. Everything's kind of long and drawn out. It's funny when I make videos for the garden or whatever where I'm going back through to edit them, I will speed them up because of how the conversation is going and whatnot. And edit gaps out, and not always, but just to kind of get it going. Yeah, actually, tomorrow we're going to be, and I think I got to see what's going on tomorrow, but maybe going to meet some people, at church and kind of prepare for this weekend. We're not doing outdoor services right now. What they're doing is kind of services by reservation where you go online and indicate how many are coming or whatever, and they're keeping track of the counts because they only have so much space. So once they've reached capacity, that's pretty well it, and they're doing a couple different services. So if one's packed out, you can pick another one, but it's been different. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this fall with everything. I know Ohio right now is kind of spiking in COVID cases, and yeah, it's still online, so people still have the option to do that. And then they've got, I guess, enough room to seat like 70 or 90 people. A service with like social distancing and stuff like that. So and they've been running 3 services until I think recently. I think they've gone down to 2 this summer because there's a lot of people on vacation, and the college students who are normally they're not in town right now. Yeah, I think we've got one too, at least out in public and stuff. And there's some stores like Walmart and Kroger, where they're mandating them, where you gotta have them, you gotta be wearing them in order to go into the store and buy stuff. Which again, I don't have any problem doing that. We've actually got a friend that made us some pretty nice ones. It's got like a little bead so you can adjust it on your ear or whatever. And even though the particles can pass through and stuff, it's it might by chance limit something. And I think what it does is it cuts down on the aerosol too, like the spread of it. Because we generate that when we're talking. The heavier particles fall to the ground right away, but the lighter ones kind of stay, in the air for a while, and that's how this stuff's spreading. So wearing it does kind of limit the spread of that, coupled with like the 6 foot, like keeping proper distance. There reduces your chance. I think it's like 80%. I don't know. There's different studies and stats out on it or whatever. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it all. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. other than that, it's been pretty neat. It's been a lower key summer. I've had a lot more help out at the garden as a result, and just things are going pretty well on the whole. Yeah, it might very well be. I know, there's what the whole anti-vax, movement, people that are opposed to it, or people that think that, the government's going to try to insert microchips by giving us a vaccine or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of information out there. It's hard to kind of decipher, what's true and what's not, and have a, kind of balanced view of things. Like we want to be wise, like discern the times, and know what to do, but we don't, imprudent. Yeah, it is getting late. I know it's like after 11 now. We've been just kind of mulling over some things. We'll have to catch up again soon. I'll have to, yeah, we'll have to do that and chat about spiritual things and all that. It's fun talking about that stuff, and good to weigh all that out. Maybe tomorrow I'll depending on what we do with this, make a video on slicing this. So, all right, man. Well, hey, take care, and it's been good chatting with you, and we'll catch up on the next one. Yeah, sugar. I do one with sugar and one with salt. I've been eating them with salt. All right, man. We'll catch you later.